Hi, Shruta ma'am. Am I audible?
Hi, yes, you're audible.
Hello. So we'll be starting in just a few minutes. We're waiting for other judges to join. And
Sure,
once that happens, we'll let you know and along with singing. Hi, Shruta
sure,
ma'am.
sure.
Am I audible? Thank you.
Hi, yes, you're audible.
Hello. So we'll be starting in just a few minutes. We're waiting for other judges to join.
Sure,
And once that happens, we'll let you know and along with singing. Hi, Shruta
sure, sure.
ma'am. Am I audible? Thank you.
Hi, yes, you're audible.
Hello. So we'll be starting in just a few minutes. We're waiting for other judges to join.
Sure,
And once that happens, we'll let you know and along with singing. Hi, Shruta
sure, sure.
ma'am. Am I audible? Thank you.
Hi, yes, you're audible.
Hello. So we'll be starting in just a few minutes. We're waiting for other judges to join.
Sure,
And once that happens, we'll let you know and along with singing. Hi, Shruta
sure, sure.
ma'am. Am I audible? Hi, Mishti ma'am. Hi, Chavi ma'am. Am I audible?
Hello.
Hello. We'll be
Yes,
starting
you're
in
audible.
just a few minutes. We're waiting for other judges to join. And once that happens, we'll let you know and along with singing. Hi, Shruta ma'am. Am I audible? Thank you. Hi, Chavi ma'am. Am I audible? As well as
Hello.
Hello. Just give us
Yes,
two
you're
minutes and
audible.
we shall be starting with other judges to join. And once that happens, we'll let you know and along with singing. Hi, Shruta ma'am. Am I audible? Thank you. Hi, Chavi ma'am. Am I audible? As well as
Hello.
just give us
Yes,
two
you're
minutes and
audible.
we shall be starting with other judges to join. And once that happens, we'll let you know and along with singing. Hi, Shruta ma'am. Am I audible? Thank you. Hi, Chavi ma'am. Am I audible? As well
Hello.
as just give us
Yes,
two
you're
minutes and
audible.
we shall be starting with other judges to join. And once that happens, we'll let you know and along with singing. Hi, Shruta ma'am. Am I audible? Thank you. Hi, Chavi ma'am. Am I audible? As well
Hello.
as just give us
Yes,
two
you're
minutes and
audible.
we shall be starting with other judges to join. And once that happens, we'll let you know and along with singing. Hi, Shruta ma'am. Am I audible? Thank you. Hi, Chavi ma'am. Am I audible? As well
Hello.
as just give us
Yes,
two
you're
minutes and
audible.
we shall be starting with other judges to join. And once that happens, we'll let you know and along with singing. Hi, Shruta ma'am. Am I audible? Thank you. Hi, Chavi ma'am. Am I audible? As well as just give us two minutes and we shall be starting with other judges to join. And once that happens, we'll let you know and along with singing. Hi, Shruta ma'am. Am I audible? Thank you. Hi, Chavi ma'am. Am I audible? As well as just give us two minutes and we shall be starting with other judges to join. And once that happens, we'll let you know and along with singing. Hi, Shruta ma'am. Am I audible? Thank you. Hi, Chavi ma'am. Am I audible? As well as just give us two minutes and we shall be starting with other judges to join. Hello everyone. I think all of us have joined right now, so we will be starting with the competition. So good evening everyone and very warm welcome to the DLRC weekly. I am the and I am the president of the so and I'm delighted to have all of you here. That is the participants, judges, and the guests to the DLRC. So DLRC is a student-led consortium which basically aims to bridge the gap between law and lived realities, specifically focusing on the female aspect of a society. And today's competition has been organized in collaboration with National Legal Rights Consortium within Women's Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, which is also known as WICCI. The theme that we have chosen today for our competition is one that sits at the very intersection of gender, labor, and law. That is gig economy safeguards, social security for women in platform economy. So, why did we select this theme after all? Because while platform work has opened flexible income opportunities for many, it remains precarious, especially for women. Issues of fair wages, safety, access to benefits, and recognition continue to go unaddressed. With the gig economy expanding rapidly, it is essential that we rethink policies to ensure it includes those most vulnerable to its loopholes. So, we are excited to see how each of your teams have tackled this challenge and translated it into strong, actionable policy briefs. Now, over to Izine Fatima, who is the Vice President of DLRC, who will be introducing our panel of distinguished judges. Thank you, and all the very best to each and every team.
Thank you, Tanusha. Good evening, everyone, and a very warm welcome to the DLRC-WICCI Policy Drafting and Presentation Competition 2025. We're so glad to have you all here with us today virtually as we delve into one of the most pressing issues in today's labor landscape. And to guide us through this powerful mission, we are deeply honored to welcome an extraordinary panel of judges, leaders, and change makers who have each worked at the intersection of gender, law, and public policies in impactful ways. Firstly, Miss Ishita Bakshi, ma'am, a powerhouse of interdisciplinary thinking. Miss Ishita, ma'am, is a policy consultant, gender rights advocate, and published writer, currently consulting on social impact programs at WILAC. A LinkedIn top voice and businessman 30 under 30 emerging industry expert, Ishita has worked in the office of MP Derek O'Brien and is also the creator of the Wannabe Economist, a platform known for simplifying complex policy issues through a gendered lens. Her expertise in storytelling, systems thinking, and justice focused reform makes her presence today truly invaluable. Thank you for being here, ma'am. Then we have Ms. Chavi Bansal, a leading voice in the conversation around the future of work. Ms. Chavi, ma'am, brings rich research experience from Niti Aayog, the Ministry of Labor, and state departments across India. She is a published scholar whose insights appear in the landmark study on gig and platform workers and in the acclaimed book Feminist Futures of Work. Her work at the crossroads of technology, financial inclusion, and women's livelihood gives us a crucial, grounded perspective on today's theme. Then we have Miss Siri Prasad with dual master's degree from London School of Economics. Miss Siri ma'am is a deeply respected gender and legal expert with a sharp focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion. She has conducted and led numerous workplace investigations, trainings, and mediations, and brings us a wealth of experience in institutional design and policy evaluations. Her insights today will help us examine how inclusive, actionable, and justice oriented each of our policy proposals truly are. Then we have Ms. Mishkeen Gautam, ma'am, currently serving as a legal counselor at the National Commission for Women. Ms. Mishkeen, ma'am's career bridges both the courtroom and the community, with experience litigating in Delhi High Courts, leading legal strategies for Jan Saha's Foundation in Uttar Pradesh, and holding an LLM in Law and Development from Azim Premji University. Advocate Mishkeen ma'am brings an invaluable grassroots understanding of rights, access, and systematic barriers. She's here today as someone who knows what it means to translate law into lived justice. Thank you, all of you, for being here. To all our participants, today your ideas will be seen, read, and heard by people who don't just understand policy, but actively works to turn it into impact. So present boldly, think empathetically, and remember, your voice matters, and so do the people you are drafting for. Let's begin. I'll hand it over to Tanusha for the draw of lots for the team.
So I'll quickly be sharing the screen so that everyone can have an access to the draw of lots. And on the basis of the same, we will decide the chronology. So I'll quickly be sharing the screen so that everyone can have an access to the draw of lots. And on the basis of the same, we will decide the chronology. So first is team TC03. Please note down your chronology as well. Second is team 04. Third is team 01. So fourth is team 05. Please note down your chronology as well. Fifth is team 06. And last is team 02. Ananya, please note down the chronology. This is the chronology on the basis of which each team will be entering and giving their presentations.
Sure.
And last is team 02. Ananya, please note down the chronology. Now I'll hand over the session to Ananya Srivastava. She's the presenter today. She's also a fellow member of Delhi Legal Rights Consortium. Over to you, Ananya.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the DLRC-WICCI Policy Drafting and Presentation Competition on the theme Gig Economy Safeguards Social Security for Women in Platform Economy. Before we begin, here are a few important rules and instructions that all the participants need to keep in mind. Each team will get 12 minutes to present their policy brief. You will be evaluated on the basis of clarity of thoughts and expression, depth of research and relevance to the theme, fluency and confidence in presentation, and time management. A bell will ring at the start of your time, and it would be sounding like. And once again, at the end of your 12 minutes, you'll hear the same ding as a cue to stop. While it is preferable to divide the time equally, which is 6 minutes each for each participants in a team, the allocation is completely at the team's discretion. Teams may share their screens while presenting the policy brief so that the judges can follow the document along with the presentation. If you wish to continue beyond your allotted time, you must explicitly request the judge's permission to do so. Please note, if the time is exceeded without the permission, it will lead to deduction in marks. As for the awards, we have Best Team, which is based on overall performance in both the policy drafting and presentation, and Best Speaker for exceptional articulation, insight, and presentation skills. We look forward for your innovative ideas. As for the awards, we have Best Team, which is based on overall performance in both the policy drafting and presentation, and Best Speaker for exceptional articulation, insight, and presentation skills. Please let me know. We look forward for your innovative ideas. As for the awards, we have Best Team, which is based on overall performance in both the policy drafting and presentation, and Best Speaker for exceptional articulation, insight, and presentation. Please let me know. We look forward for your innovative ideas. As for the awards, we have Best Team, which is based on overall performance in both the policy drafting and presentation, DC03 for exceptional articulation, insight, and presentation.
Yes,
Please
ma'am.
let me know. We look forward for your innovative. Are you ready? As for the awards, we have Best
Yes,
Team,
ma'am.
which is based on
TC03, you're also requested to present your policy briefs alongside.
Yes, ma'am.
Let me know. We look forward for your innovative. Are you ready? As for the staff policy, we have Best
Yes, ma'am.
Team, which is based on
TC03, you're also requested to present your policy briefs alongside.
Yes, ma'am.
Let me know. We look forward for your innovative. Are you ready? As for the staff policy, we have Best
Yes, ma'am.
Team, which is based on
TC03, you're also requested to present your policy briefs alongside.
Yes,
You're
ma'am.
ready, kindly let
Just kindly let us
Yes,
TC03, you're also requested to present your policy briefs alongside.
Yes,
You're
ma'am.
ready, kindly let us
Yes, ma'am.
for the ease of convenience for all. TC03, you're also requested to present your policy briefs alongside. You may let Ananya know if you are joining the timelines. For the ease of convenience for all. TC03, you're also requested to present your policy briefs alongside. You may let Ananya know if you are joining the timelines.
Goals is clear, but it must not be based on the insecurity of the risk. A very good evening to respected guests and participants present here. We are representing
To present your
and we present our policy titled Gig Economy Safeguards Social Security for Women in Platform based on the insecurity of the risk. The gig economy is doing fast, but its workers, especially women, are paying less. We are according to present and India has around 7.7 million gig workers, social security for women in 2031, and this number is expected to grow more and more by 2030. But of all us, only 20% are women, and most of them are engaged in low-wage informal sectors like domestic helping services, home tutoring, or part-time work. And this number are often deprived of basic social security such as health insurance and maternity benefits. They are deprived of opportunities and welfare mechanisms or safe working environment. And most importantly, a legal recognition as workers. There is a code on social security 2023, and it is word, but it limits the price. When it comes to USC, it offers a broad definition of gig workers, but it does not have any specific safeguards for women. If we talk about the issues, the major issues are the lack of social security for women in platform-based gig work. It is a critical gap that leaves them without any health insurance, without any maternity benefits, without any income protection or legal safeguards. If we talk about it is the zero legal obligation to ensure the welfare of women gig workers. What is the major objective of our policy? The major objectives of our policy is bridging the gap between the digital opportunity and real world security for women in platform work. It establishes a universal portable social security account for women gig workers. It ensures the maternity, health, and accident insurance as a statutory right. It promotes skill development and upward mobility. It enhances the data transparency and it fosters a collective voice. Moving towards the policy recommendations, it ensures the our policy recommendations is divided in certain sections. The very first one is the social security and the financial protection of the women. As per 2024 Niti Aayog report, it estimated that 90% of gig workers lack savings, leaving them vulnerable during the emergency times. So our policy recommends making a health insurance mandatory platform for women gig workers. It can be through Ayushman Bharat or under any other dedicated government scheme. It also provides for introducing a maternity coverage which includes pre and postnatal care, income compensations during leave, and support for childcare. We propose a co-contribution model where the platform, government, and worker each would contribute a small portion monthly dedicated to the gig workers, especially women. What will this ensure? This will significantly reduce out-of-pocket expenses, and this would encourage continuity of work post-pregnancy, especially for women who are from low-income backgrounds. Our another proposal is the portable social security benefit. Gig workers, they often switch platforms frequently, and it causes them to lose any accumulated benefits. So we therefore recommend creating a portable social security account which would be linked to their Aadhaar and e-Shram card, so that benefits like pension, insurance, or any paid leave credits, they stay with the worker and not with the platform. If we talk about the data of 2023, though over 29 crore people are registered on the e-Shram portal, most women gig workers remain outside this system. We recommend that platforms be mandated to register all workers on e-Shram and that female workers be gender tagged for targeted welfare delivery. And non-compliance of this should be penalized through audits. There must be an annual audit report. Our another recommendation is regarding the Mandatory Internal Complaint Committee, that is ICCs. If we take an example of POSH Act, the Prevention of Women from Sexual Harassment, there is a mandatory provision to establish internal complaints committee to hear the redressal mechanisms, to hear the problems which are faced by the women. But most women gig workers, they face harassment from customers mostly on the daily basis. So there should be a mandatory provision regarding the internal complaints committee. It can be incorporated either in the Code of Social Conduct 2020. There is a Code of Social Security 2020. It is implemented specially for women gig workers. But there is not any specific chapter for which is dedicated especially to women. There is chapter 9 which deals with the platform workers or gig workers or unorganized workers. But we propose that a separate chapter should be made especially dedicated to women, and in that mandatory internal complaints committee provision should be established. Other than that, we also propose a digital grievance redress portal. There should be a toll-free number because most of the women are from rural areas. They don't have apt technology to work with. So it can either be a toll-free helpline number, it can be a WhatsApp-based helpline number, and a timely insurance should be there. It should be time-bound. Furthermore, there can be gender-specific amendments to the Social Security Code 2020. We recommend the new chapters, and we further propose that in that upon workers, they are excluded from opportunities simply because they lack digital literacy. Most of the women are from the rural backgrounds. They don't have any digital literacy.
According to a 2022 study by Digital Empowerment Foundation, only 33% of rural women in India are digitally literate. Many women gig workers still struggle with the app navigation, with online payments, with GPS usage, and basic cyber security. So we recommend launching a community-based digital literacy program through self-help groups, through ASHA workers, through Anganwadi workers, through NGOs, because these platforms work in ground. They work with these women, and there can be training programs to teach them platform app usage, UPI payments, GPS-based navigation for their safety. Other than that, we also propose a flexible upskilling and career transition paths. As per the World Bank's 2021 report, women constitute less than 20% of formal skilling program beneficiaries in India. Even among gig workers, the majority are stuck in entry-level, low-wage roles with little to no career progression. So we recommend launching government-subsidized online courses. It can be in beauty, it can be in food services, wellness, childcare, education, etc. Other than that, if we talk about the code of social conduct, there are certain loopholes in that as well. Can I know the time? How much time is left?
You have 3 minutes currently.
Okay, thank you. Talking about the loopholes, there is a code of social conduct, but there are so many loopholes in that code. Firstly, if we talk about its chapter 9, which is dedicated specially to the platform workers, to the gig workers, its section 119 deals with it. But section 119 deals only with the unorganized workers. No specification regarding the gig workers is provided. Also, the other section which talks about the gig workers, the word may is written, but for the other workers, the word shall is written. So shall is making it mandatory for the other unorganized workers, but may is providing the discretionary power to the central or the state government to frame schemes for the gig workers. Why so? There should be a provision which should make it mandatory, which should make it totally compulsory for the government to work for the betterment of the gig workers. Other than that, the code also leaves the gig and platform workers outside the purview of certain additional schemes that are accessible only to the unorganized workers. The code is totally silent about creating this distinction. If the code is for the betterment of all the three unorganized gig and platform workers, then why the gig workers are sidelined? And the code is providing no justification for the distinction. Also, though the magnitude of the task of extending the social security benefit to the gig workforce is massive, and it possibly requires deliberation and specification by subsequent notification, but this still has the potential to create certain challenges. For example, there should be a proper publications of any guidelines. I'll explain this by an example. In 2020, there was a motor vehicle aggregator guidelines. So it provided that the motor vehicle aggregators, they have to provide health insurance and term insurance to the drivers. But this has a differing opinion in the public because there is a separate act called the Motor Vehicle Act for the same purposes. And the public was confused whether there would be a duplication of the cost for aggregators as providing social security for gig workers is concerned. There should be a proper publication of the rules. Further, the code grants discretionary powers to the central government to exempt the aggregators or class of aggregators from contributing to the proposed social security fund. Because aggregators are the people who are like a middleman between the workers and the people who are availing their services. For example, we can say that Swiggy, Zomato, or we can take the example of Uber. It is an aggregator, so it provides a platform where the workers uses its platform to connect with the people who are availing their services. So what the aggregator.
Team, your time is over. If you require additional time, you could ask the judges for the same.
Yes, I'll conclude it in just like 30 seconds.
Okay.
Thank you. So the aggregators state that they are just providing a platform, so they are not liable to pay any type of compensation or contribute anything to the gig workers. But as per the provision of section 114, aggregators are required to contribute between 1 to 2% of their annual turnover to the social security fund, and that should not be less than 1%. So our policy also proposes that aggregators should be mandated to pay 2 to 3% of their annual turnover. That's it. My co-speaker would continue from here.
Very good evening to the respected judges, organizers, and the participants. As my co-presenter has already briefed you about the policy, its objective, and why we need it, I would be covering its implementation strategies and challenges which we'll be facing and how to mitigate those challenges.
Team TC03, I request you to please take permission from the judges for extension of time.
TC03, I think you did not hear the rules which was stated by Ananya. Per team, it is 12 minutes. So
Yes, ma'am.
you had. Yes, team.
Yes, ma'am. We thought like as if the bell didn't ring, so she thought might be her duration is still going on. So I think there was some misunderstanding regarding
So
the
the bell ringing, participants, please note the bell ringing is the final time which you have basically consumed all of it. Basically, the 12 minutes which you have used, that's when Ananya will ring the bell. So you have to make a note when you guys will stop and the next speaker will speak. That is something that you and the next speaker has to decide amongst yourselves. Okay, so it was a total of 12 minutes. Everyone, please note, Ananya had already stated it towards the very starting of the competition. It is a total of 12 minutes. It is also mentioned in the brochure that the total time allotted to each team to present their presentation is 12 minutes, which can be divided amongst yourselves as and how you want it.
Yes,
For now, your time is up. You can either request the judges, and it's completely on their discretion if they will allow you a minute or two extra, but that is at maximum, not more than that. So please ask the judges if they are okay with it, and then we can go ahead with it.
Yes. So I humbly request the judges to please give us the extension of the times due to that misunderstanding. We don't have like 3 to 5 minutes.
I don't think we would be able to allow you for 3 to 5 minutes. Maybe 1-2 minutes if the other judges are okay with that. Is that okay?
Yeah, I think 1 to 2 minutes you can take to just sum it up and close it.
Basically,
Yeah, I think the same.
if the implementation strategies, you can go to the stakeholder roles in the other parts.
Yeah.
If the other judges are aligned with that.
Yes,
Yeah.
Oh,
You just have 2 minutes.
so I should. Yes, ma'am. So I should cover implementation strategy only. That
No, we don't want you to. We want you to go through the stakeholder roles because this more or less your partnership covered it. You can go to stakeholder roles and you can kind of sum it up.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So going directly to the stakeholder role, as it is often said that collaboration is the backbone of the successful implementation. So in the stakeholder role, number one comes the central government. Central government plays a major role. Number one, it will give the legal recognition. How legal recognition? Making the amendment in the Social Security Code, that is section 2, subsection 9. Gig worker, as is being justified, making a proper definition of it and including the word employee, covering them under the ambit of the word employee will give them the legal recognition which central government can give them. Then the central government will play the role of budget allocation, a proper budget allocation, and that too a gender specific budget allocation that is followed in the countries in the world. For example, Canada follows the same. There's a gender budget allocation which central government provides for the workers and the employees into that. Then the central government can also ensure the national level monitoring of the every act, and that is making up various platforms for the same. For example, we have eSham already in existence, making it more effective. Then the role of the state government, how can it contribute is by the local implementation, by appointing a nodal officers, and the skill program variously, as already discussed by my co-presenter, through the digital protection acts and everything, more awareness among the women's regarding the platforms they have so that they can access to it. Then the platform companies, how can they contribute? They can contribute by compliance in app safety tool and data sharing.
Team TC03, your time is up now.
So I would just like to conclude by saying in that we can also follow just 30 seconds, ma'am, if you permit to.
Sure, you can just conclude in 20 seconds. Only the conclusion. We have gone through the legal and policy derivatives. Just skip to the conclusion.
Yes, ma'am. So coming to the conclusion is that we propose the best thing is that the tax management and budget management can be through a model that is government contributing 50% and the platform contributing 30% and the employer contributing 20%. With this, we can have a well-defined policy. So a truly progressive society not just ensure the employment for the women, but it also ensure the dignity, safety, and continuity in the every job they take. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, TC03. Now we'd like to ask the next team, TC04, to please present.
Before you move ahead, is it possible to give us a minute to mark them just so that we do not, or how would you want that to happen? Is it okay after every round to give us a minute so that we are clear and through with the marking? Okay,
Absolutely, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah, just give us a minute. Thank you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you. I'm gonna start after a minute, okay?
Sure.
The next team, please be ready with your briefs as well. And everyone, please note again, we are saying it, it's 12 minutes in total. So please divide the time accordingly.
I am done.
I'm done as well.
Yeah, we can proceed if everyone's done.
TC04, please present your screen so that I could start the ring.
I would request the judges to allow us to share the screen.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I hope it is visible.
It is.
Good evening, everyone. I believe most of us have a fair understanding of what the gig economy is. But just to lay a groundwork for the discussion, let me briefly refresh our memory about what it refers to. Well, it's the labor market defined by short-term contracts, or as one may say, freelance workers with not permanent jobs. These workers are often engaged through platforms like Uber, Ola, Zomato, Urban Company, where flexibility is sold as a feature, if not freedom. Well, we team code 0304, my apologies, together we will present the draft on deeply overlooked yet urgent issue, fragmented work and forgotten rights of women in gig economy. Our presentation will be in twofold. First, why? Why focus on gig economy? Why focus on only women? And why this draft? Second, what and how? What we recommend, what we propose, and how we can implement it. So why talk about gig economy at all? Well, India's gig sector is blooming, and it's expected to reach $455 billion by 2027. At first glance, the gig work seems to be empowering because it offers flexibility, autonomy, and self-employment. The moment we scratch the surface, the reality comes off, and especially for women, it's very harsh. As a result, which will make up to only 11% of Indian gig workforce. This isn't just underrepresentation, it's systematic exclusion. A 2023 survey found that 65% of gig workers have no savings and nearly 50% have no insurance. Company dodged labor laws by calling the gig workers as independent contractors. No contract, no benefits. This casualization of labor pushes responsibility onto workers. Now imagine being a woman in this setting. No maternity leave, no childcare, no grievance redressal, and just unsafe conditions. This is not just about data. I repeat, this is structural inequality. Many may argue that these challenges exist for both men and women, in the gig economy especially. And yes, to some extent, they are right. But here's the core argument of ours. Women do not participate in this economy on equal terms. And this brings us to the concept of intelligible differentia. Article 14 of Indian Constitution enshrines the principle of equality before law, but our courts have clarified treating unequals equally is not justice. This is erasure. And for classification to be legally valid, it must rest upon intelligible differentia. So we asked ourselves, do women in gig economy form a separate identifiable class under this principle? Without a doubt, yes. Women in gig economy face a set of disadvantages that men simply do not. They contend with mobility restrictions, heightened risk of harassment, algorithm biasness that punish them with lower availability. For instance, let's take this 2024 ILO report, which showed that 76% of female gig workers avoid working after dark, while on the other hand, 80% of men regularly work night shifts, earning more results because they get incentives. Women face algorithmic penalties. These algorithms, which are meant to be neutral, end up reinforcing gender biasness. Here is where Article 15, Clause 3 comes into play. It explicitly empowers the state to make special provisions for women and children. This recognizes equality in law, cannot ignore the inequality in fact. In several cases like Anuj Garg versus Hotel Association of India and Air India versus Nargesh Mirza, this was upheld. The cases establish beyond doubt that gender-specific protections are not discriminatory. Gender-sensitive protections are not favoritism. They are essential for real equality. So when people ask me, why not men? Well, I respond, yes, men too face this precarity in gig work, but not same as women. Men do not face the structural exclusion. They are not constrained by the safety after dark. They are not juggling with childcare while navigating the delivery route. They are not told that their labor is secondary supplement to the household income while primary is to take care of the house. This is not about privileging one gender over another. This is about recognizing realities of unequal starting points. A policy that treats men and women identically in a space that is already gendered unequal will only reinforce injustice. Hence, our objective proposed by this policy is very clear. We aim to ensure that female participation in gig economy is not merely token sake, but transformative. The digital platform establishes grievance redressal mechanism and safety framework tailored for women realities. And that portable system of benefit covering health benefits, maternity leave, accident insurance is created so to protect the worker and not the job. These are not luxuries. These are mere necessities for the future of work. Now that we've covered with why, I'll hand it over to Muskan, my co-presenter, who will walk us through the hows and what's, detailing the recommendations and way forward.
Thank you so much, Speaker One. Now I'd request the judges to allow me to start my presentation. Thank you so much. So very good evening to the judge madams and my fellow councils and everyone present here. I'd be starting with what my council have already covered, which is, all right, 6 minutes over, which is what and how. What are we recommending, how we are planning to recommend it, and how are the possible challenges could be overcome. Now, I'll be focusing upon the recommendations and implementations. So, my co counsel has just not asked questions. She gave a voice to so many women who feel but rarely say out loud. I, Speaker 2 of TC04, am not here just as a speaker, but as someone who sees the cracks and refuses to steep around them. Others talk in numbers, we talk about people. Others draft policies, we draft futures. Now, the gig economy says you're flexible. I ask, but are you safe? Are you heard? Or are you protected? So that's not a demand, that's just a responsibility, and I'm here to own it. To begin with, Azadi Ka Amrit Kal is not just about freedom, but dignity for every citizen, every worker, and every woman. India's gig economy is growing rapidly. By 2027, it will touch about billions and billions, which is approximately to $455 billion. That is a testimony to our nation's innovation, youth power, and digital strength, which could be referred on reference from on page number 9, reference number 10. And today, more than 77 lakh gig workers serve the nation, from delivering essentials to offering vital services. But let's ask a fundamental question. Why are only 11% of these women are workers? Why are those 11 working without basic protections? No maternity leave, no health insurance, no digital protection redressal, no job security. These women are not just workers, they are daughters of Bharat Mata, they are foundations of India's economy. Today, I do not speak as a leader, but as a sevak to restore their rightful places in journey of Viksit Bharat. Now, the problem is what the data tells us. Let me place the truth before you. First, legal injustice. Women gig workers are not recognized as employees under law. As my fellow co-counsel has already mentioned, they have not been provided no minimum wages, no maternity protections, no insurance, no pensions, nothing. And the algorithm inequality, apps that promise opportunity often trap women in low paying roles like care work or beauty services because the algorithm is biased. Now, the safety concerns. 1 in 3 women gig workers fear assault. They work alone, often at night, with no verified safety zones, no panic buttons, and no real time protection. Their workload is double, but there's no relief. They carry a double burden, unpaid domestic work and irregular gig hours. One illness can push them into poverty. No portability of benefits is there. A woman shifting from Zomato to Uber company loses all the benefits she has because the system is fragmented. My dear citizens, if unequal people are treated equally, that too becomes injustice. Now we have 5 transformative reforms for justice and dignity, which we present here as recommendations and would be sharing the key takeaways soon. The first recommendation is legal recognition and portability of social security. Every women gig worker will get a unique social security account connected to Aadhaar and eShram. Benefits like health, maternity, pension will be portable across platforms. A national authority platform of platforms, as also emphasized in the Niti Aayog report 2022, will be established to regulate and monitor compliances using the Code on Social Security 2020. The second, which we come, is the health and safety as a right, which is a basic human necessity of all. Extend maternity leave, menstrual leave, and adoption leave to gig workers. Platform must mandatorily provide accidental insurance. It is to introduce telemedicine vouchers through health tech startups, deploying SOS buttons, GPS trackings, and AI alerts for women's safety. Now, we promote Suraksha Bhi, Seva Bhi. This is our mission and vision. Gender sensitive grievance redressal is what we promote. On point number 3. gender sensitive grievance redressal point we promote, which is form a national gig worker grievance cell with a dedicated women's desk, platforms to establish internal committees as per the POSH Act, and enable anonymous complaints and zero retaliant policies, because justice must not only be delivered, it must be accessible as well. Minimum wages and algorithm justice is what we promote. Mandate sector-wise minimum pay per hour and per task, introduce surge compensation protections, conduct independent AI audits to correct algorithmic gender bias. Platforms must explain and justify deactivations with the right to appeal. Technology must power, not marginalize. Last but not the least is the skill training, credit, and recognition. We should launch financial and digital literacy programs via NGOs, partnerships, provide PM Mudra Yojana loans based on gig performance, recognize gig work under the Skill India mission, enabling into formal jobs from Rozgar to Sammanit Jeevan. This is our Sankalp. Now the implementation strategies we promote. We promote pilot city strategies as it is mentioned here. In the pilot city strategies, we promote cities like which are very metropolitan: Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore. Example, 1,000 women are onboarded in Delhi. Their social security IDs generated and they receive UPI based insurance payout. I would request an extension of a minute from the judges.
Sure, you can take maximum of a minute and close it out.
Sure. Thank you so much. So, is my screen visible?
Yes, you can continue.
Sure, thank you so much. Now, in concluding, we'd like to propose that we have the second partner with platforms like Swiggy, Zomato, and Uber company. And examples would be Urban Company already offers safety kits to beauticians. This policy would make it mandatory and nationwide, not a goodwill gesture, but a compliance norm. And to use technology, eShram, Aadhaar, UPI, amend the code on Social Security 2020, engage all stakeholders, government ministries, gig workers, unions like IFAT, legal experts, civil society groups, etc. Legal backings include the case laws of All India Gig Workers versus Uber India, IFAT versus Uber of India, Rajasthan Platform-Based Gig Workers Act 2023. And in the last concluding statement, I would like to say, my sisters and brothers, this is not a question of economics. This is a test of our values, how we treat the silent builders of digital India, of how we include the most excluded. Gig workers, especially women, are not asking for charity. They are demanding what our constitution guarantees: equality, dignity, and security. If we can deliver food in 10 minutes, we can deliver justice in one law. This is the time for Nyaya, not Nirmal only. This is the time to build not just a gig economy, but a just economy. And with that, I'd like to conclude.
Thank you so much, TC04. Judges, you could take a minute to mark them, and then we could continue with the next speaker.
Sure.
Judges, shall we proceed with the next team?
I'm done.
Yeah.
Next, I'd like to call upon TC01 for presenting.
Yes.
TC01, could you please share your screen?
Please allow us 1 minute.
Are you ready, TC01?
Yes. Should I start? Good
You may
afternoon
proceed.
to everyone present. We are Team P01 and the title of our policy draft is Securing the Backbone Social Protection for Women in India's Gig Economy. Through this policy, we aim to address the structural challenges and vulnerabilities faced by women working in India's platform based gig economy and propose practical and inclusive solutions to ensure their long term social and economic security. India's gig economy is expanding rapidly and it has enabled women to take up flexible income opportunities. However, this growth has come without any formal safety net. Most women working in the gig sector do not receive health benefits, maternity leaves, insurance coverage, or access to grievance redressal system. Our policy proposes a gender sensitive framework that includes access to social protection, workplace safety, fair wages, algorithm accountability, and support for skill development. The goal is not only recognize women gig workers but to ensure that they are protected, empowered, and included within formal labor system. While gig work provides flexibility, it has also created a space of invisibility and exploitation for women. They are labeled as independent contractors and denied even basic protections such as minimum wages, paid leaves, and maternity support. According to estimates, India's gig support will reach 23.5 million by the year 2029 to 30. However, women make up only 28% of this workforce, and in some key factors like ride hailing and food delivery, their participation is less than 1%. The COVID pandemic exposed how fragile this sector really is. Women gig workers were the first to face job losses and had no income security, healthcare support, or legal protection. Factors like caste discrimination, lack of bargaining power, digital illiteracy, and unsafe environments further worsen their experience in the platform economy. Our policy seeks to respond to these challenges by building an inclusive and enforceable framework. The gig economy in India has grown through digital platforms like digital apps, home service providers, and ride hailing services. For women, these platforms offer new ways to earn, but without formal empowerment status, they are excluded from labor laws and protections. Internationally, countries like Spain and the United Kingdom have taken major steps. Spain passed the riders law to classify delivery workers as employees, while the United Kingdom created a development contractor category to provide basic protections. In India, although the Code on Social Security 2020 recognized gig and platform workers, it lacks gender specific implementation. Our policy built on these gaps to bring real life just for women. Our policy aims to build a gender responsive framework that offers women gig workers access to social protection. This includes maternity and health benefits, workplace safety measures, wage fairness, skill development, and grievance redressal. The ultimate goal is to transfer gig work into sustainable and dignified livelihood. First, there is need to legally define gig platforms and unauthorized workers within the labor system. We propose a national registration system
similar to Kerala's model linked to platforms like eShram portal. A multi-stakeholder welfare fund should be created with contributions from the government, digital platforms, and workers themselves. This fund will support access to healthcare, insurance, life insurance, maternity benefits, sick leaves, and emergency aid. To improve awareness and employment, multilingual digital campaigns should be launched to educate women workers about their right and available schemes. Safety is a major concern for women working in the gig economy. Currently, the Prevention of Sexual Harassment Act does not protect gig workers because they are not legally recognized as employees. Our policy proposes that this act be extended to women working on digital platforms. Digital platforms must include in app reporting systems, emergency buttons, and consent based services, features that allow women to control how and where they are work. Self defense training and gender sensitization programs should be made mandatory. Access to safe rest zones and toilets must be ensured by platforms. Finally, a fair tech enabled grievance redressal system should be introduced and strong protection must be given to whistleblowers. With this, I would like to invite my teammate to continue the remaining sections of our policy draft.
Thank you. I will now continue with the second half of our policy, beginning with two critical components, fair and pay inclusion. Wage and algorithm fairness. One of the most overlooked forms of discrimination in gig economic is invisible and algorithmic. Women gig workers often receive fewer tasks, lower ratings, and unpredictable pay, not because of their performance, but due to opaque algorithmic system. Our policy recommends that platform disclose how rating and task assignments are decided. Women should also have access to their own performance data and a process to challenge unfair scores. There must be a guaranteed minimum post expense income, especially after deducting fuel, data, or equipment costs. Finally, we suggest regular independent audits of algorithmic and cap on working hours to protect mental and physical health, inclusion and skills. Social protection is just the foundation. What women also need is growth and recognition. Our policy proposed gives specific training under existing government programs like Skill India with digital literacy, communication, and financial education will do. Women-led self-help groups should be empowered to operate on platforms. Co-working hubs can offer safeguard workspace and public sector banks should be directed to offer credit to women in gig roles under priority sector lending. Family and community sensation campaigns will help reduce stigma and increase women's visibility in digital economy. Implementation strategies. For any policy to work, it must be implementable, not just idealistic. We propose a phased rollout using successful state models like Rajasthan Gig Workers Welfare Act and Karnataka Insurance Scheme. The Ministry of Women and Child Development can lead outreach. The Ministry of Skill Data Development and Entrepreneurship can manage training. State labor departments and welfare boards will handle registrations and on-ground implementation. Platform must contribute to welfare funds, comply with grievance rules, and report data transparently. And financial instruments, both public and private, will ensure access to credit and insurance for women. Challenges. We recognize there will be resistance. Platform may object sharing data or contributing financially. May rural women may not have smartphones or digital literacy, and without clear national framework, state-wise implementation could become inconsistent. But we also believe these are not deal breakers. They are design problems, and our policy addressing them head on.
Mitigation measures. To encourage platform compliance, we propose financial incentives and CSR eligibility. To address digital barriers, we recommended community-based awareness drives led by self-help groups and local non-governmental organizations. Multilingual artificial intelligence powered grievance boards and can be developed on apps to guide workers step by step. And finally, a standardized legal enforcement operation procedure will ensure that every platform, regardless to size, follows the same basic rule women. Stakeholders, the policy requires real coordination. The Ministry of Women and Child Development will oversee outreach. The Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship can and National Skill Development Corporation will lead the labor departments at the state level will handle execution. Financial institutions like the Small Industries Development Bank of India, trusted financially technological startups will manage credit and insurance. Platform must comply with provisions while non-governmental organizations and self-help groups will work directly with for the women ground. Policy precedents. Globally, there are strong precedents. Spain passed a riders law, recyclifying gig workers as employees. The United Kingdom created the category of dependent contractors, giving flexible without removing protection. In India, Rajasthan's law for platform workers and e-Shram portal for registration show that a larger scale tech development social protection is possible. Our policy builds on these but a clear focus on women, which most current framework ignore. Conclusion. In the conclusion, India's economy must not grow by excluding women. It must grow with them. Our policy offers a practical and inclusive framework to ensure that women gig workers are protected, respected, and empowered. With the focus implementation, political commitment, and platform accountability, this policy can transfer gig workers from an unstable fallback into dignified and sustainable livelihood. Thank you.
Thank you, TC01. Now I request TC05 to please, I request the judges to first please take time to mark the team and then we could move on with the next team. Judges, should we move on with the next presenter?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So now I request TC05 to please present your screen and
Greetings to all the judges and participants present here. I'm Speaker 1 of TC05 and I'll be giving the brief summary and the policy recommendations, and Speaker 2 will be moving on with the conclusion and implementation strategy. So firstly, the title for our policy was Towards Digital Dignity, Policy Safeguards for Women in India's Platform Economy. So India's gig economy with platforms like Swiggy and Urban Company give flexible jobs. But for many women, this comes with unsafe work, low pay, and no legal protection. So what exactly is the problem? Women in gig jobs are not covered by labor laws. They face pay gaps, unsafe work conditions, and unfair computer systems that affect their work. Protests like the one by urban company workers show that how serious these problems are. These issues also go against important parts of the Indian Constitution and international agreements. To understand when the problem started and its background, we need to look back in time. So, since 2016, gig work grew fast because of smartphones and apps. But women workers were still not covered and still aren't currently under important acts like the Factories Act and Maternity Benefit Act. The Social Security Code, the bill that was talked about multiple times today, 2020, also mentions gig workers, but it doesn't give them full rights. Our policy suggests very simple changes to provide social security, fair pay, and safety using both Indian laws and examples from other countries. So, moving on to our policy objectives, they're very simple, six clear ones. We demand for legal recognition. We want to classify these platform workers as dependent contractors. We want mandatory e-shram registration. What is the problem with these workers currently being classified as independent contractors? That means that the employers that are taking their services and moreover exploiting them would not have to provide simple benefits such as maternity leaves, menstrual leaves, or health care for accident covers to these workers as they would for traditional workers. So we would highly push for this. Social security, we would recommend an ESIC cover, welfare funds, maternity and health benefits. We also recommend fair pay and transparency. We would require minimum city-based tax wages, algorithm transparency reports, because those are the ones currently being the biggest enemies against these women. We would also require safety and POSH compliance. We have proposed for SOS buttons to be included, GPS tracking, vetted night routes, internal complaint committees being organized. We would also then look towards the long-term effects and want these women to have upskill themselves and have financial literacy. We would partner with NSTC, women's collectives, and SSGs for financial training. We would also be monitoring these implementations with gender equity scorecards and regular tripartite reviews with the government, the women collectives, and the employers. So moving on to the policy recommendations. Firstly, the social security and benefits. We would introduce portable social security covering health, maternity, and retirement benefits across platforms. India Spend recently put out an article wherein they had interviewed women who worked in the beauty industry under urban company who had to leave their jobs for the sake that this economy that's proves that wants to be seen as something that is accessible and very flexible was not providing that same benefit to them. They had to leave it because their children, whom they are working to provide for, are not getting the benefit from their mother being able to be in a flexible job. So hence this policy would directly combat that and try to improve it. We would also create a centralized benefits pool funded by platforms based on female participation. We would ensure paid menstrual leave, maternity leave, and childcare vouchers. We would provide access to emergency health care, including gynecological and mental health services. So the biggest problem with policies like these, which want to come about in a relatively untraversed field, are where is the funding going to come from? We would want a centralized benefits pool being funded by the platforms themselves. And that's the way we would fund these benefits that we are putting across. Moving on to the safety and security, we would mandate real-time tracking, SOS buttons, and customer verification. The people that these women would be coming into direct contact with on a daily basis, that requires that these customers that they are going to are offering their services that moreover have them in the vicinity, that in an environment that these women cannot control. For example, the beauty industry, wherein they have to go into the customers' homes to provide these services. We would make sure that this real-time tracking SOS buttons are readily available to these women should anything go wrong. We would also restrict work hours unless with consent and added safety. This added safety would again be the vetted night rules. We would enforce background checks for customer facing gigs and conduct safety training. We would also establish 24/7 helplines and gender sensitive grievance redressal. Now, towards the fair pay and transparency, we would set minimum hourly wages, which is going to be city based, and it would be specific to the task that this economy puts forward for these women to engage in. We would also prevent algorithmic bias and enforce equal pay audits, which now the algorithmic bias that has been talked about multiple times today, it is basically when the computer itself realizes, since it is a computer that is made for profit maximization, and how do we get this profit maximization? We would need that every single worker that is being employed has sacrificed all of their hours, has put forward all of their energy into solely making profits for this company. And that means no leaves. So when a worker who has taken less leaves compared to a worker who has taken more leaves, the computer would automatically a lot more work towards the worker who has taken less leaves to, in the end, again, profit maximization. Now, to combat this, to prevent this, we would need to change the code itself, to realize that taking leaves is a normalcy now. And that would again be by the company itself providing maternity benefits and healthcare access and accident covers and normal leaves as such. We would also offer bank access, microcredit, and performance incentives. Now, another question, that's because platforms benefit from stable, trained, and secure workers. They benefit from workers that would show up for work the next day before taking a leave or after taking a leave. They require regularity, clarity, which also builds public trust, enhances the brand of the company that is employing these women, and reduces long-term legal risk. Again, these legal risks would also mean that women who end up in unsafe environments because of the algorithmic bias that has been put on them, and which is not at the fault of anyone specific, but it would again be able to combat in this way, where we would again put forward maternity benefits, healthcare access, accident covers, wherein these leaves and these workers are given the flexibility that they want, that they were promised when coming into this economy. Next, we would want skill development for these workers. We would provide annual upskilling vouchers, mentorship networks, and leadership pathways. Then this policy would recognize cross-platform certifications and support female entrepreneurship. And lastly, for legal and regulatory measures, we would amend the labor codes to include gig workers and wage and benefit laws. We would ensure platform accountability and anti-discrimination enforcement and regulatory oversight. All of these are the policy recommendations that we have put forward, and I would like to give the platform over to Speaker 2.
Since we have now discussed all the policies that we would like to have it present here, the biggest question in front of us is how are we going to implement it? Because in order to make and implement a policy, the implementation of a policy plays a greater role in any policy of being successful. So here we present the implementation strategies in 3 phases. So the first phase, as has been stated here, is the pilot phase, which is for 6 months, where we will be introducing it in certain metropolitan cities like Delhi, Mumbai, and Bangalore. Because these are the cities which have a large number of workers, we will be targeting only 50,000 workers or so, in order to have a perfect implementation of the same, and also analyze and regularize all those things into what we must be lacking in. The second phase that we would be including is the expansion phase. Having been the results and having been the analysis of all the 3 metropolitan cities, we will now be rolling it out in other 15 tier 1 or tier 2 cities with wider service inclusion for 12 months. In phase 3, we would like to have it as a nationwide implementation for 18 months. Now, this 18 months would be the lab experimental months, wherein we would be again analyzing all the lackings and all the shortcomings that we might be facing with.
When we have discussed all these three phases, it also becomes important to analyze who would be the stakeholders and how we will be able to engage and bring all of them on board. So here we have the government, the private sector, the civil society, and the incentives. Now, obviously, the government, the WCD, the Labor Ministry, and all NET Ayog, the think tank of our country, have to be on board in order to analyze and implement, in order to make sure what are the shortcomings and how all of these could be curbed. Again, the private sector, who would be again one of the major stakeholder in this implementation of our policies, because ultimately the gig workers are coming out emerging from these platform itself. Civil societies would also play a very important role in the research and also analyzing the ground level shortcomings that these gig economy women workers in this gig economy would be facing, and will help us give the ground reality over their situations. And then the incentives, when I'm discussing incentives, I would also like to pose a question that when we are talking about all these kind of policies, a very striking question would come in all of our minds: what is the financial status of it? Is it financially feasible to even implement this policy? Yes, it is. Now the three phases that we have just identified, post this we would also be including the PPP model. The PPP model, the public private partnership model, wherein we I would request the judges to give me
You can take another minute to sum it up and close out.
Sure. Thank you so much. In order to sum it up, I would like to present the infographic that we have made. So we have explained the implementation strategy and the stakeholders. We would also like to highlight how the financial constraint of the same could be implemented. So hence I have just mentioned about the PPP model, and also the central nodal agency could be put on board in order to have a coordinative of these policies so that we could have a perfect implementation of it. Now, also while analyzing the legal and policy precedent, we have the Code on Social Security 2020, which again lays out a lot of safeguards, but it does not make a certain policy. We have Rajasthan's bill, we have Karnataka's bill, Jharkhand's bill, but none of them are specifically talking about women in gig economy. And hence, when we look at the numbers that we have just started with, it becomes very important to analyze how women's role in each and every economy have been faced by several constraints. Gig economy is a new opportunity, but we must also not turn blind eye towards the condition, towards the situation that women are facing. And hence we introduced this policy in order to make sure that social security, being our major focus, is provided to each and every woman working in this gig economy. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, TC05. Judges, just let me know once you're done marking.
I'm done. Yeah, I'm done as well.
Okay, so now we'll move on with TC06. Please share your screen. You may proceed now.
Hi, am I audible?
Yeah, you are.
Yes.
Okay, you can start the timer now.
You may proceed. The timer is on.
Okay. Before I would like to begin, I would like to start with a very powerful quote. The worst form of injustice is pretended justice. Let me put it again. The worst form of injustice is pretended justice. Good afternoon, respected panelists and future change makers. Let me begin with a simple truth. India's gig economy is booming, but its women are breaking. Your Lordships, on my recent visit to Bangalore, I was able to order food from Swiggy, and I met this one delivery partner who delivered my food, who was Miss Rajalakshmi. I saw a cast in her hand. I was really intrigued, and I asked her what happened to you. She said that she's 32 years old and she does not only work for this delivery service, but rather three other services at the same time. And she was trying to deliver her, her usual thing. And on the way, she tried to escape a pothole and ended up falling from the bike. And she hurt her hand. Now she had no insurance, she had no sick leave, she had no compensation. She continues to work with a cast on her hand and she earns less than 40% than what she usually does because the platform does not care for her pain. India today has 77 million gig workers who are India's digital engine, but only 24% of this workforce is women. They clean your homes, they deliver your food, they teach your kids online, they pack your parcels, and yet they're invisible in every labor law and every policy discussion. This isn't just a gap, it's an injustice. The story of Rajeshwari is not just a tragedy, but it is the everyday cost of ignoring almost 1.84 crore women who empower a gig economy without being protected by it. And let us be clear, this isn't just a social oversight. This is a constitutional violation. Because when a woman who can deliver 16 orders in a day but is not able to access maternity care, she was violated of her Article 21, which gives her her right to dignity. When she is paid less than a man for the same delivery route, it violates Article 14, which ensures right to equality. And when the law turns a blind eye to her exploitation, it violates the spirit of justice on which our constitution was built on. So today, we are not just here presenting a policy for the sake of this competition. We demand a change. We present to you her gig, her rights. It is a bold 14-point national framework that doesn't just reform the system, but tries to bring a change on how India values women in the future of work. Because gig economy is here to stay. The only question is how what will happen to our women. Now, let me present to you the numbers and statistics, your respected judges. India's gig economy currently employs around 77 lakh women, which is 77 lakh workers, out of which 2.34 crore are women. And it's expected to rise to 2.35 crores, which is bigger than Australia. But as he pointed out, only 24% of this workforce is women. There's an 8 to 10% pay gap even in gender neutral delivery work. Most women receive no maternity benefits, no healthcare cover, and no insurance. They are called as delivery partners, but they only act like placeholders. Today, we present to you a 14-point framework through which we try to bring in change. I will be covering the first 7 points, and while a co-speaker will cover the rest. The first change we try to bring is a legal revolution by introducing the third category of worker. Let us start by calling out the biggest lie in the platforms. You are not an employee, you're on your own. Because our labor law that we have right now puts workers to two neat boxes. One is an employee and another is a contractor. But gig women do not fall into either of these two categories. So what do these platforms do? They exploit this gray zone. So we try to end this today. Now we propose a new legal identification for these people called as independent worker. So now Rajeshwari will become protected. She is recognized and she should be empowered. With this, almost 1.84 crore women will gain a standing in the Indian law and finally able to demand what's theirs: maternity benefits, insurance, a leave, safety, and most of all, her dignity. The second change we like to bring in is a 30-day rule, which is a mandatory user recognition. What's invisible never gets funded. So let us take an example. I know as one person called as Rani. She runs a beauty parlor service. And she worked in a company called as Urban Company. When she switched platforms, she lost everything, including her ratings, her clientele base, and even her years of experience. Now, although we have the Unorganized Worker Social Security Act of 2008, which creates the concept called as a national database, and based on this, in the year 2021, we have an eShram portal. This registration is voluntary in nature, and therefore the adaptation to our legal system has become very weak. So we tried to bring in a 30-day rule, which says that every platform must register a worker within 30 days of onboarding. And on registration, every worker will get a social security number, which gets tied to their Aadhaar and their eShram as well. We also introduce a concept called as a platform passport, which is a new legal mechanism which enables women to port their work from one delivery service to the other, like their history, their ratings, their entitlement, and across platforms. So there is no more digital erasure or no more starting from the scratch. The third framework is the 60-20-20 formula, which is for basically a form of smart financing. Article 41 of the Constitution calls upon the states to provide public assistance in case of unemployment, old age, sickness, and disablement. But today's platforms pass this duty towards women like Rajalakshmi, who had to pay for her injuries out of her own pocket. So our solution is we bring in a 60-20 formula, where 60% will be done by the platforms, 20% by the worker, and the government backs 20% costs, which ensures a constitutional obligation as well. This isn't just a welfare, it's more like a right funded by a reason. The fourth framework is maternity justice, which is 180-day paid leave revolution. Under the Maternity Benefit Act of 1961, employees in the formal sector get 26 weeks of paid leave. But gig workers are excluded because they do not come under the term employee. So even though many women work full-time delivering services, they still do not cover under this act. So what we try to bring in is a 180-day paid maternity leave for a gig worker, which includes rupees 5 lakh maternal health coverage under Ayushman Bharat scheme, and as well as a maternity savings account, which is funded by the platform she is employed in. This will reduce 65% dropout rate as well. And the fifth one is childcare infrastructure. We introduced a community crash network because increased productivity would if she has a crash network, she'll be able to contribute more to the community, and therefore it also increases the productivity of the platforms as well. The sixth evolution is we try to bring in a wage justice, which is algorithmic transparency and minimum guarantee. So now platforms get to decide who gets what order and where and when do they go. But the algorithms are very opaque. There is no regulation, there is no accountability, and there is no appeal. So we demand an introduction of mandated disclosure of how these algorithms are decided on. And city pays minimum wages, that we state that based on the city, they get an additional amount of payment. And there is also need to be a right to human review based on these algorithmic decisions. And we also demand for an establishment of an algorithmic audit board with a legal standing with a worker representation. The next is safety first and technology-enabled protection, where we see that the Protection of Women Against Sexual Harassment Act in workplaces fails in a gig economy because they are not official employees. This woman puts women like Pooja in danger because she has to go for a late night delivery and she's scared for her safety. So we demand a GPS tracking with the worker override, panic button which links to a police or the emergency contact, and safety score for clients. Yes, we need to bring in a safety score for clients and a safe route which prioritizes secure roads. And now I invite my co-speaker to walk you through the second half of this framework on health, security, grievance redressal, and the digital unions that will shape India's future laws. Because this is just policy, it's a precedent.
I'll be continuing with my co-speaker. So the eighth one is health security. A 10 lakh annual family health coverage and disability benefits, just like average labor law benefits, is offered to the organized and unorganized workers. And moving on, we have the ninth one, data rights. Workers own their data and ratings and work.
PG06, speaker 2. Could you please check your mic because you're not clearly audible to the judges?
Wait a minute.
Or maybe you could just speak a bit louder because your
Am I audible
voice is a bit feeble.
Am I audible now?
You are audible, but your sound is a bit feeble compared to the previous.
Okay, wait a minute. Yeah, wait.
So just be a bit louder, that's fine.
Okay, I will be continuing with my eighth one. So, health security, a 10 lakh annual family health coverage and disability benefits, just like a normal labor law is providing to the organized workers and unorganized workers. And moving on, we have the ninth one, data rights. Workers own their data, ratings, and work history with a blockchain secure records. By doing these things, they will have and kind of records of histories which will not be destroyed even if they removed from the independent contractors of the progressive platforms. And moving on, we have the 10th one, a platform accountability, a public platform which is called as a platform gender equity dashboard showing a gender pay gaps, a women's representation, safety incident rates, and benefit disbursement efficiency will be shown in this platform by introducing this concept, and it will be efficiency in the manner. And for 11th one point, the AA for good. This will provide a predictive system for income descriptions and benefit gaps and discriminative patterns and health emergency. In case if the AI decision must have a human review option, the workers can challenge the algorithmic determinations through a dedicated grievance officers, a zero-knowledge AI system that predict a patterns without accessing personal details will be done. And moving on, a 12th point, the grievance justice. Three trial resolution system, including a platform level resolution and state mediation and nation appellate authority will be focused on this 12th point. And moving on, the 13th point will be a collective power, recognizes the right to form a for platform, a specific worker associations and engage in a collective bargaining will be given to the independent workers. And the global learning will be 14th one, which is like partnering with the ILO and UN Women for technology transfer and policy learning and research collaboration. By doing this thing, it will be globally recognized, and also many people will get awareness of this opportunity, and many countries will also adopt this policy. And moving on this policy, we're going to deal about how this implementation roadmaps works. So in the implementation roadmaps, we're going to focus on foundation, which is phase 1, which starts from first month to 12 months. During this process, first we're going to talk of established a gig worker social security act will be established, and moving on, the National Gig Worker Social Security Authority will be set up with 50% women's representation, and unified digital platform with multilingual support will be developed. A pilot launches in 5 cities will be implementation will be done in the tier 1 cities. And in the phase 2, a scale-up process. It starts from 13th month to 24th month. So in this process, the policy will be rolled out nationally uniform manner with all platforms above 15 crore annual revenue required to register, and benefits like healthcare, the maternity leave and income support will be activated. In phase 3, the optimization 25 to 26th month, during this, the AI system will be deployed for predictive protection, and the policy will be refined based on implementation experience, and international partnership will enhance the policy robustness. And moving on, we're going to talk about what is the efficient of this policy, the economic efficiency of this policy. So by talking about this, the investment record is substantial, but the returns are good amount. We project a total 5-year investment of 97,300 crores rupees. The economic returns includes a 52,000 crore annual GDP boost by 2030, and also 9,500 crore annual in tax revenue will be increased, and 35% reduction in women-headed household poverty.
TC06. Yeah.
With the permission, can I conclude it? Like within 1 minute, ma'am.
You can take another minute and conclude.
Yeah, thank you. So this will be, and the social return on investment is estimated at 5.3:1 ratio with a payback period of just 2.8 years. And we have a stakeholder solution of almost from 40 plus national women's organization, a progressive platform, international partners like World Bank and ILOs and state governments. A central funding will be reduced to state welfare burden. And moving on, we want to know what is the urgency and opportunity of this policy is going to given to the women. So the gig economy will triple in the next 6 years. The women's participation is declining due to a lack of protection. So being this, we have a strong political demand for women's empowerment, and technology maturity enables cost-effective implementation. And interest the best practices provides a proven roadmap. Economic growth demands a women's works participation. And by concluding that, the choice before us is stark. We can remain complicity in digital apartheid that treats 1.85 crore women and disposable labor. Or we can create the world's most ambitious gig workers protection system and prove that a rising India lifts all of its daughters. This is not just a policy, it's a prophecy. Let's us choose to be a nation that liberates women's labor, not the one that digitizes this exploitation. The future remembers the courageous And the legacy rewards the bold. The time for half measures has passed. So here we are. Her gig, her rights, her India. A time is now. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you, team TC06. Judges, once you're done marking, just please let me know.
I'm done.
I'm done as well.
Judges, TC02 has been disqualified pursuant to the decision of the NLRC. So that brings us to the end of the competition. Thank you to all the teams for their thoughtful and insightful presentations. We now request the judges to kindly share their feedbacks with the participants.
We can start with Siri ma'am, followed by Chavi ma'am, followed by Mishkin ma'am, and followed by Shita ma'am. Thank you.
All right. So, how would you want the feedback to be team specific or general feedback?
Ma'am, you can start with general feedback. Then after that, you can also go with the team feedback so that they know what is actually supposed to be done when it comes to policy brief making as well as presenting the same.
All right. Okay. Good evening, everyone. I thoroughly enjoyed listening to all the five teams, and all the five perspectives were quite different. And you all have kind of captured everything, and you all have followed the rules of the competition, and your entire policy brief was in the order of whatever was mentioned. So, all of that is really good. One thing that I observed is a few teams, I don't want to name anything, a few teams spent a lot of time in letting us know about the problems that the gig economy is facing rather than telling us what the solutions are. And also, even if you all gave the solutions, they were very surface level. One or two teams did dig in a little deeper, but the solutions should have been a little more researched, a little more nuanced. But I do understand that you all are maybe this is your first competition, so kudos so that you all have given a very, very amazing attempt you all have made. And one more thing to observe is all of them were female participants. Was that coincidental or what was it? What do you all have to say about that organizer? I was just very curious about that element. Is it only for female or what exactly is it?
So, ma'am, this organization itself is women for women. So all the members itself are women here. So that's why you have just seen participants.
Okay, got it. All right.
For some reason, we also had judges also as females. That was just pure luck.
Got it.
No, not intentionally.
Okay. Then a few teams, I think that is with regard to the technical part about it, of it. Now, when it comes to the entire competition part of it, I think most of you all did stick to the time, but here or there were a few lapses. So when it comes to competitions, you will have to be a little more prepared about how you manage your time. So maybe you all could have an internal split up as to I'm speaking for 8 minutes, the other person is speaking for 4 minutes. So that clarity was lacking a little. And a few participants were reading from the policy brief. So even that should be avoided because we have already gone through the policy brief. So it should be more like something that you are advocating. You're advocating for a policy. So persuasion is very, very important. Of course, it comes with time. A few of you were able to do that. But a few of you will also have to focus on your presentation skills, confidence, and all of that. Apart from that, yes, I thoroughly enjoyed and a few solutions were really good. I also like the fact as to how you all had researched about international programs and legislations and all of that and how you drew relevance to that in India. So the research was on point and even the infographics, I think one team showed the infographics towards the end. That was really good. And a few of you had already inserted that in the policy, which shows that you all have worked really hard. So yeah, great experience for me as a judge. So thank you so much for inviting me. I did learn a lot, and you all put up a really great show. And even the organization was, the organizing committee was very, very from day one till the day you all reached out to me. Ananda reached out to me, so it has been very smooth so far. So thank you so much and looking forward to collaborating and staying in touch with all of you.
Thank you, ma'am. Chavi, ma'am, you can give your 2 cents on the
Right. Okay. So first of all, full disclosure, I did not mention this in my introduction. I was actually like, aside from writing the report for Niti Aayog, which all of you quoted, I was heading future work at Ola, and currently I'm representing a lot of platform businesses with the government on policy front. And I saw like a lot of platform bashing happening here. So anyway, I mean that's of course fine. So firstly, like congratulations to the team because this was really well put together, and I think everyone did a really good job considering when you pick up a subject that is still like in its nascent stages, it is very difficult to come up with solutions that will work for everyone. Having said that, one of the things I would like to point out is that again, like I'm not defending platform businesses just because I work for them, but it is an economic structure that is in place. Everyone has given examples of Spain, UK, when it came to regulations, right? The level of informality that is existing in these countries is very minuscule in terms of the workforce. So, for instance, in the US, it's only 18%. In Spain, it's 27%. In the UK, it's just 13%. So, when they stick to the binaries of employer, employee, and contractual workers, it's affecting only a small population of the workers, and most of these people are like highly skilled workers or like medium skilled workers who are getting into these professions. Compare that to countries like India or Indonesia, mostly like Asian countries, where the level of informality is very, very high. Here, platform work has actually shown, especially in Indonesia and Vietnam, where there have been studies, that it has reduced unemployment. So perhaps using UK and Spain as the base for policy making for countries like India may not be as feasible because the larger repercussions of sticking to the binaries of giving them employee status will actually be counterproductive, because at the end of the day it increases the how do I say it, the cost to the business. And it has been seen in Europe as well. The minute you put the labor of making the payouts on the business, they have to cut on the fleet sizes to ensure everyone gets access to that social security. So maybe let's not stick to the binaries. And I think again, but it's like something new, so it's completely fine that we are kind of like going with the existing debates. I had like team-wise feedback, but it will take too much time. Maybe like if you guys want, you can just reach out to me later and I can just go through it, because I went through all the policy briefs and I made like notes on all of them. So if the teams want to like reach out to me individually, that's perfectly fine. So I'll pass on to the next speaker.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for the in-depth analysis that you've done on your behalf. That's really, really sweet. Ishita ma'am, you may give your feedback, and then Mishkin ma'am.
Sure. Yeah, firstly, kudos to the organizing team. I also agree it was a very smooth process right from the day you all reached out to the entire all the processes of onboarding the panelists and everything. And even today, it was really well organized and everything was very well timed. So congratulations on successfully completing this competition as well. And again, for individual feedback, I will just send across whatever notes I've made over email. So maybe the organizing team can just share with the participants if that works for all of you. Just for overall general feedback, one point that I would like to mention is, while all the policy briefs were really well sort of organized and formatted and presented, but I also have a similar feedback about that reading out right from the policy brief. As panelists and judges, we already have gone through that. So when you're presenting, focusing on some key points, focusing more on the gaps and challenges, and what are you proposing to solve those gaps and challenges. A lot of the solutions that you gave were also a little generic, in the sense you are just touching upon some of the aspects. Say for instance, some of the teams pointed out about that some of the skill based certifications etc that are there by NSDC and so on needs to be expanded, but there will be some implementational challenges or gaps, right, because of which it might not be at the stage of optimal performance. So what are those gaps? So looking at those individualistic gaps and challenges and then proposing solutions might be more say feasible from a challenge perspective. And this is again a whole team wide feedback to all the teams, is that you don't always need to cover an entire base when you're talking about say a particular issue like this. Even though it's a niche issue from a gender perspective, it's still very broad. There are multiple angles. There can be a health insurance angle, there can be a maternity benefit angle, there can be a menstrual leave or menstrual health reproductive rights angle. So another good way to look at it can also be picking up one niche angle and studying that thoroughly and then preparing your policy brief. That is also always appreciated, because that also helps you to delve deeper into the subject and get more experience in understanding what really is the current issue, and then also looking at relevant practices in similar GDP levels of countries as well. So comparing with relevant countries is also something that, again, Chavi already pointed out. So I will not again elaborate on that part. But my major feedback is on picking out on a more specific policy, even within the niche policy of the gender angle that we are looking at gig workers. So yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. That indeed is very precise, and I think most of everyone will benefit from the feedback that all of you had. Mishkin, ma'am, can you please let us know your feedback on the competition?
Hi everyone. First of all, congratulations on such a commendable job. I think most of you are students, and this was very good effort, I think, by the teams as well. What I would like to point out is has mostly already been spoken by other judges, but I would like to say that when doing comparative analysis, as in when you are considering another countries, you would like to go for countries which are in your spectrum. Like India is still a developing country, so you should go for a country that is also in a developing stage, has similar geography, has similar conditions as the country that you are making a policy for. That is one of the major aspects when comparative studies are done in policy making. Apart from that, I also agree with Ishita on the point that when speaking about a certain policy, then if you deduct figure out that there's a specific area where you have to how should I put it, you should shortlist a specific area where you can delve in and create a certain niche ki, acha, this is the area where I want to work on, and I can do better research, in-depth research in this specific area. So those two are my feedbacks. Otherwise, I think that it was a great job being college I think most of you are college students. So I think that was a great job, guys. Good effort, and I think you should keep it up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mishkin, ma'am. In fact, me myself, from being from the policy space, I also work at Observer Research Foundation. So, like, I'm an advocate who transitioned into the policy space. So I completely understand that one should definitely go, rather than covering everything, as Ishita ma'am said, as Siri ma'am said, Chavi ma'am said, that one should focus rather on something which is more narrower, so it makes it more precise, more easy to understand, given that the time period is also itself very small in consideration to how much you have to present. So thanks a lot. Ananya, please carry forward the session and pass it on to Mark. Thank you.
First of all, I'd like to thank all the judges. All the feedbacks were very insightful. Now I'd like to hand it over to Mavish, who will be delivering the vote of thanks. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Am I audible? Okay. Good evening. What a competition it has been. I am Mavish Fatima from the DLRC team. First and foremost, I would like to extend my deepest gratitude to the esteemed judges we have, Ms. Ishita Bagchi, Ms. Chavi Baniswal, Ms. Shri Prasad, and Ms. Mishkin Gautam for dedicating their invaluable time and for being so patient with all our participants
to hearing them out and assessing their performances. Thank you so much, ma'ams, for sitting through so patiently, and your valuable feedbacks, your insightful feedbacks will undoubtedly guide all of us, especially the participants, in whatever future endeavors we take up. It has indeed been a delight to share a discourse platform in your presence. My heartfelt appreciation and congratulations to all the participants for their dedication, hard work, and exceptional presentations. Each performance was truly commendable, reflecting rigorous preparations and passion for policy making. We are immensely grateful to WICCI and the National Legal Rights Consortium for providing us the platform to host such a meaningful policy drafting and presentation competition and fostering enriching discourse. A special thanks to the team at the Delhi Legal Rights Consortium, especially to our President Tanusha and our Vice President Izine, and every member whose effort made this event a success. Lastly, we kindly request the judges to email the score sheets to the DLRC email ID, which will be shared shortly. To the participants, the results will be declared shortly, I think within a week. Izine, would that be right? Okay, so within a week, we'll let you know the results. And we look forward to many more future collaborations with everyone who's present on the panel. Thank you so much for your time. All the best to everyone. Lastly, please switch on your cameras for a group photograph.
Zine, you may take the screenshots. I think we're done. Yeah. Okay. Thanks a lot, everyone, all the judges. Thank you so much for taking out time for this session, for this competition. Your feedback has been very invaluable, and we really hope to see you once again in some, not just a competition, but in general a session, a public policy meetup or anything of that sort. Really, absolutely happy to have you guys on board. And everyone is requested to leave the meeting. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
We can share it back to the same email ID, right? The scores?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Same email ID. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. I will be ending the meeting now.
Sure.
Thank you.